Hey guys, the other Zach here to hit you with some very relevant, very important, and very pertinent journalistic content. It's a Dead by Daylight tier list. But hold on, before you leave and go to a different, better video that's not a Dead by Daylight tier list, let me coax you into staying, because it's not a regular tier list. It is a pallet stun noise tier list. So we're rating the stupid fucking noises that the killers make when they get pallet stunned. Before I start, I really want to emphasize that this list is entirely objective. Actually, it's completely objective. My opinion is fact, and if you have a difference in opinion, you are unfortunately wrong. Okay, so diving right in, first we've got the Trapper, who is a strong start. See, the Trapper's got a really weighty sound to it. It's full. It's ooh. It's kind of like the original Minecraft Steve injury sound. You know, you can really hear the pain, not just physical pain, but kind of emotional pain that you would dare stun him with a pellet. It fits his character. It sounds like a noise that would come from him, and it sounds very satisfying. It's not perfect, but we'll put him in the A range. Next up, we've got the Hillbilly. Now the Hillbilly, I mean, it's very fitting to his character. It's kind of just like the rest of his noises. Oh wait, I skipped the fucking Wraith. It's not super satisfying, but it is satisfying enough. He's pretty average. He's somewhere between B and C, I think. We'll go with B, but we might move him. Next up is the Wraith. Now, the Wraith is kind of one of my favorites, honestly. He kind of sounds like an elephant. He kind of sounds like this string of letters. He just, I don't know. I mean, most of his noises are kind of animalistic. I always thought he kind of sounds like a snarling pug when he's just walking around. So it's kind of fitting that his pallet stun would sound animalistic. So I don't know. I mean, it seems to fit his character. It's very satisfying to hear, and it's kind of funny. So we're gonna put him way up at the S tier. He's one of the elite pallet stun noisers. So next up, we have the Nurse. The Nurse kind of loses points for me because you hear the noise so often. It's basically the exact same noise as when she just gets stunned regularly when she teleports. And really it just sounds like she's having an asthma attack. It sounds like she's just wheezing out her last breath. It's pretty satisfying. I mean, you really feel like you winded the Nurse when you hit her, but it's not... I mean, it is pretty fitting. It's just that it doesn't have that same oomph that like the Trapper's has. I think it'll go down. I think the Nurse is a B. Next up, we have Michael Myers. Myers is kind of a funny one for me. Not just because the sound is just objectively hilarious, but it's so not fitting that it works somehow. It's so not fitting for his character. I mean, every other noise this man makes is just pretty much silence. It's just breathing through the mask. It's just this, he's just this horrifying creature in a mask with this like really terrifying presence. And yet his pallet stun noise is goofy as all hell. It is completely not fitting, but yet it is carried to the legendary status because it's hilarious and it's very satisfying. Like, you can't... There's an entire subreddit dedicated to his pallet stun noise. Next up, Hag. So the Hag is okay. I mean, it's a satisfying sound. It feels good to hit the Hag. Probably because the Hag is annoying as fuck. But the sound is just very so-so. I mean, it completely fits her character. It's just a little gurgle and a little bit of winded. It's not fantastic. It's not bad by any stretch of the word, but it's not. I think she belongs in the C category. Next up, we have the Doctor. Doctor immediately right up to the S thing. Doctor's just... I love it. He just giggles. He couldn't be happier to be stunned by that pallet. He's enjoying it, and it's just, he sounds like he's being tickled. He sounds like he's being tickled, which he probably is. That's probably all it feels like at that. He looks like he's in an excruciating amount of pain on an everyday basis, so it probably does feel like a little tickle to him. It's very satisfying to hear. It's very amusing. It's very fitting to his character. It's a strong S. Huntress. Huntress, another case, immediate strong S. She's throwing an absolute temper tantrum. She's having a complete fucking meltdown. It's great. It is so satisfying to hear. It is usually hilarious. It goes on for so long. It goes on for like way too long, which is somehow perfect. You'll be breaking the pallet and the noise will still be happening. You'll be finished the rest of the gens halfway through the exit gate. You pallet stunned her like 5 minutes ago and she'll still be having a complete meltdown. S, strong S. Next up, everybody's favorite face camper, we've got Bubba. Bubba's is okay. It's fitting. It's very fitting to his character. It is pretty satisfying to hear, actually. Part of that is just, it's satisfying. I hate seeing Bubba's. I just dislike Bubba. So hitting one with a wooden pallet just feels inherently good to me. So that hearing that noise is kind of like immediate serotonin. But I mean, it's okay. It's not pushing the bar at all. It's not doing anything new. It's a B. Next up, we have Freddy. Freddy, just an immediate F. His is just really just kind of dumb. It's just like you can't even hear it half the time. It's just like a quiet grunt with a lot of reverb. That's all it is. There's nothing satisfying about it. I mean, it fits his character, sure, but there's nothing funny or satisfying about it. It's just sort of, it just happens and it just hangs in the air and then disappears. Bottom line, it's boring. So F, strong F, or weak F. How does that work? It's at the very bottom. Next up, we have the pig. Pig, I just feel sorry for. I mean, the noise, it sounds so cute. It's such a tiny little squeak. The rest of her presence, the rest of her sounds are really ferocious. But then this one, you hit her with a pallet and it's just a little like, you feel bad. Is it an A? I don't think it reaches exactly the levels of S, but I mean, I think it's an A. Next up, the clown. So the clown sounds exactly how you'd expect him to sound. I mean, he's kind of like the Doctor in that he finds it funny, but his laugh is in a weird, sad kind of way. It's just, he sounds a bit more tired. It's very fitting, but it's not very satisfying. It's okay. I think it's a B territory. Next up, the Spirit. Spirit, amazing. Strong S. It's such a great, like, wah! Shouldn't imitate it. Let's not include that. I know I'm gonna include it. God fucking damn it. It's a fantastic sound. It sounds like Waluigi if he were a demon. There's not much to say for it. It's perfect. Except it's not perfect enough to be legendary, so it's like a little less than perfect. It's got the spirit of being perfect. Oh, fuck, this is dumb. Next up, the Legion. So the Legion has technically two different ones, and I mean they're okay. Honestly, I think they're a B. They're very fitting, and it suffers from the same thing as the Nurse. You hear it so often that it's not special when you do it, but it is very fitting. It is satisfying. It's not very funny, but it's all right. It's a B. It's a B. It's average. Next up, Plague, aka Vommy Mommy. Plague is kind of similar to the Huntress in that she's having like a full meltdown, temper tantrum. It's not as good as the Huntress. I think she's a solid A because it is really good. I mean, it's really fun to hear her yell in Latin or Babylonian, whatever language she's speaking. She's an A. She's an A. Good job. Ghostface. Ghostface is up in the legendary category with Mike Myers. Ghostface just sounds so done with your bullshit. He's not hurt. He's not upset. He's not even disappointed. He's just fucking done. He's frustrated. He's had such a long day of work. You know, he's at the end of his shift and you're dropping pallets in his face. He's just tired of it. He's one of the most satisfying killers to hit with a pallet just because it's so dramatic. It's so, you can really feel the emotion. It's amazing. He's legendary. These two, amazing. Next up, we have the good boy, the Demogorgon. Demogorgon occupies a similar space as the pig does, where I feel bad because he sounds like a wounded puppy. He sounds injured. He's just an animal. He's a big beast. I feel bad. I feel like he sounds like a whimpering dog. But it's not very satisfying because it's kind of quiet and understated compared to the rest of his guttural screams. I think it's an A. Like, it's not bad. It's not perfect. It's not fantastic, but it's an A. It's good. Next up, we have the Oni. The Oni is really disappointing. The Oni is down with Freddy. He's a fucking F. This is this giant ball of rage. He's constantly screaming and yelling. When you hit this big angry man with a pallet, you'd expect him to react very angrily, but no, it's just a little like, ooh. It's really pathetic sounding. And he also suffers from the same thing as the Nurse in the Legion, where that's the same noise you hear when his power runs out. So you hear it a lot, and it's not very exciting. There's nothing really positive about it. It's just there. Next up, we have the Death Slinger. Death Slingers is kind of disappointing too, I'm not gonna lie. Not as disappointing as these two. I think it's just a D, but it's just not very, there's nothing satisfying about it. It just feels kind of weak. It feels like it's a little quieter than the rest of his sound for some reason. I mean, he sounds a bit winded, but it's not very exciting. It's not funny. It fits his character, I guess, but like, I don't know. It does nothing for me. Again, just like the Oni, it's just like a sound. It's just there. It serves its purpose, but there's nothing exciting about it. Next up, we have the Pyramid Head. Pyramid Head is also kind of disappointing. I don't know what they did with the last 3 killers, but they're all just kind of underwhelming. I don't think it's as disappointing as those two, but it's not great. Next up, we have the Blight. The Blight is another disappointing one. It's like they gave up on the pallet stun noises for the recent killers, because he has a lot of good noises. He's constantly screaming and making these other horrifying noises, and all of those sound great, but then his pallet stun noise is lackluster and it's not satisfying, it's not funny, it's fitting, but it's just, there's nothing, it's just there. It's just like a placeholder sound. It's again, not as disappointing as those two, but it's not great. What are they doing? Why aren't they good? They could be good. They could be better. The other sounds are good. They could clearly be better. What happened recently? What happened, behavior? What happened? Next up, we have Charlotte of the Twins. And we've got Victor. They're a nice change of pace. Charlotte kind of sounds like a watered down version of the Huntress's pallet stun noise. She's having a little bit of a temper tantrum. It's satisfying. And then Victor is just satisfying to kill always, because that little creepy bastard haunts my dreams, and I will always be happy to crush him with a pallet. So honestly, they're up there. It doesn't quite reach Trapper, Pig, Vommy, and Demo territory, but it's good. Second to last, we've got the Trickster. The Trickster is another disappointing one. Honestly, he's going down at the F's because, okay, the Trickster is so full of personality in every other like aspect of his design and the sounds he makes. He's like laughing at survivors as he's hooking them. He's got a lot of fantastic noises. He's constantly saying things. He's great otherwise, the sounds, but his pallet stuns are so disappointing. They're barely there. They're just like little kind of like, what happened to all the personality and the wonderful emotions and fucked up laughing? Like, I don't know. He's extremely disappointing. He's like the most disappointing to me because, like, purely because all of his other sounds are fantastic. Last but certainly not least, we've got the Nemesis. I hate to end this on a disappointing one, but the Nemesis is also really disappointing, like F tier disappointing. He's got a really intimidating presence. Everything else about him is big and bulky and terrifying, and the noises he makes are really frightening sounding. But this one, it's barely a noise at all. It's just like a low rumble. You'd have to turn up your speakers to hear it. It really seems like they just gave up recently on making good pallet stun noises, which is weird because all of the other noises for the last couple killers, really good. They sound great. But then the pallet stun noises, they're just like, just make them grunt. Where like previously they had masterpieces. And well, there it is. This is the objective, definitive palette stun tier list. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked this, be sure to do all the usual shit. Drop a like, drop a subscribe. I could make more stupid bullshit like this. It is a lot of fun for me. Yeah, if you like it, do the things. Interact with it. Engage with it. Or don't. And just move on with your day. Okay? Okay. Leave me alone.